Alright, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're watching another breakdown on Nwadei MMA, where I give you my thoughts, but more importantly, ask for you guys' thoughts because you guys are the MMA community. And we're talking about UFC 310's main event, Alexandre Pantoja versus Asakura. And man, before we even get into the breakdown, just talking about this event a little bit, low-key better event than it was gonna be before Bilal ended up pulling out of the Shavkat fight. To be honest, a lot of people were saying that Shavkat did deserve the title shot. I didn't necessarily see where they were coming from. His biggest win was against, well, really in my opinion, Jeff Neal was his biggest win, but then his latest win was against Stephen Thompson. I don't really think that warrants a title shot, but considering all these people weren't fighting each other, it was a weird spot. But I'm actually happier now that Bilal has pulled out and Shavkat is fighting another up-and-comer in Ian Gary. I'm going to be breaking that one down soon, but today we're talking about the new main event since Bilal ended up pulling out, between the champion, or a longtime champion from Ryzen, making his debut for the belt in the flyweight division against Alexandre Pantoja, who has beaten pretty much everybody. And a lot of people don't know who this guy is, so in this video I'm gonna do my best to break him down, his style based off his previous fights, and how he actually matches up with Alexandre Pantoja, using the best fights possible to break it down with the film study. So guys, we're gonna get into that breakdown in a second, but first, please, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and you're more than welcome to subscribe to be notified when more breakdown videos like this come out. I do in-depth fight analysis for every main card that we have here in the UFC, and then whenever I find something interesting, I like to do technique breakdowns. You can go down my channel and look at those. I've done Dricus du Plessis, I've done John Jones, I've done Ilia Topuria so far, and much more are coming, so go ahead and stay tuned. And if you want early access to these breakdowns and things like that, I'm going to be posting them way earlier on my Patreon. You're going to be able to see fighters' styles and me breaking them down, breaking down the techniques they use, going into detail about that. Or if you're an aspiring fighter yourself and would like one-on-one coaching or things like that, we also have those being set up on our Patreon right now, so go ahead and check out the Patreon if you haven't done so already. But with that being said, let's get into the breakdown of UFC 310's main event. So starting off with the body type and style breakdown of each fighter. As you can see here, for Asakura, the UFC hasn't put any stats out about him, man. If you just look at any of these on the UFC website, they haven't put anything out. But here you go, as far as his height and reach is concerned. He stands 5 feet 8 inches tall, fighting out of Japan. Interestingly enough, his weight isn't necessarily a flyweight. He fought flyweight earlier in his career, but then he moved up to bantamweight, and he was fighting those guys who really, he seemed like the same size against it. I've even seen some footage of him fighting or sparring Merab Dvalishvili, and he looked a lot bigger than Merab, and it can be deceiving. Their size can be deceiving. He might have very hollow bones and not as dense bones and things like that, but he's made flyweight before, and that's the title he's fighting for. So the UFC is actually really excited about having him here. He's a very exciting fighter. He likes to get in there and scrap. He comes from a karate, boxing type of background, and he actually came up in the game training sumo wrestling as well. A little bit odd, but you know, it's Japan. He does have a 69-inch reach advantage, and I couldn't find his leg reach anywhere on the internet, so I'm assuming since he's pretty tall and long, I would assume it's going to be around 40 inches or so. Doesn't matter too much, but that is my guess. As far as Alexandre Pantoja, he is 5'5", so much shorter, 3 inches shorter, 2-inch reach disadvantage at 67 inches, and 36-inch leg reach for Alexandre Pantoja. He doesn't throw too many kicks up high. He mainly goes to the body with them. As far as his style, man, he is striking wise, he's gonna try and blitz you. He's at Tasmania definitely. He's gonna try and blitz you. As soon as your hands come up, he's gonna shoot underneath. He's gonna try to press into the cage, take it back. That's pretty much his style. Of course, I can do a more in-depth analysis if you want. We're gonna get pretty deep into it with this fight analysis, but let me know if you guys want a style breakdown where I show their style in person. I could definitely do one for Alexandre Pantoja, but he's been very dominant. He has 2 wins over Brandon Royval, 3 wins over Brandon Moreno. He's beaten Alex Perez, he's Manel, Kape, Matt Schnell, Wilson Hayes. I mean, dude, Alexandre Pantoja, he's beating everybody, right? And that's why it's a little bit of a weird situation, and that's also why they're bringing in Asakura. As far as Asakura, before getting into his film study, because we're going to study his film first, he's beaten the likes of Juan at Archuleta. A lot of you guys know who that is. He beat Kyoji Horiguchi. He actually knocked him out in the first fight. In the second fight, he lost via knockout, but he was also 1-1 with Manel Kape. So there's a lot of interesting things that can happen with him if he, say, he gets a win or even with a loss against Alexandre Pantoja. But I think that even before getting into the film study, that Alexandre Pantoja and Asakura is a matchup and a fight that is not only going to be exciting for the fans because they both like to scrap, they're both finishers, but it's also a fight that can make either fighter look good, right? So Alexandre Pantoja, he's had a little bit of a problem gaining traction after winning the belt, right? He won the belt, he had that beautiful speech about his dad. Everyone loves him, right? But then there's no real story because there's no real threats because he's kind of beaten everybody, right? And his last one was a little bit like, oh, Steve Erceg might have beat him and this and that. But this is one where if he finishes this guy, which I believe if someone does win, it probably will end in a finish, that he could look really good. But if this other guy, especially with his style, how he likes to lead people into space and then crack them with very fast and accurate shots, if he wins this fight, he can also become a big star just because off of pure excitement, right? So that concludes our preview for UFC 310's main event. But now let's go ahead and get into the film study. I'm going to analyze 2 fights from each person. I'm not going to go through the whole fights. I want to make this as concise as possible, but with as much information as possible. You know how I like to do these things. And in order to do that, I believe that we're going to analyze Asakura first, and we're going to talk about his fight against Juan Archuleta, because this fight, I think, is actually a great resemblance of the style that he's going to face with Alexandre Pantoja. I think Juan Archuleta is a bigger version, slightly slower and more wrestler-based than jiu-jitsu-based version of Alexandre Pantoja, but he's still going to blitz in. He's going to throw a lot of big hooks. He's going to look to close the distance by grabbing onto the legs. A lot of similar things that he can see, right? So he's being very patient. There's a jab to the body. Juan's trying to cut him off with a roundhouse. But you can see he's not really pressuring forward. He wants his opponents to step in the space right in front of them. If I can get a better angle. So here's the space in between them. You're gonna notice every time that someone jabs in or feints or anything, he looks to step either straight back or backward off to an angle, and he's looking to walk them onto a space in order. There it is right there. See, yeah, it's every time Juan steps forward, he moves backward at an angle, looking to counter. He's a counter striker for sure. Ooh. And he is not afraid to throw them. So going back again, he's keeping that space. He's not trying to overcommit on anything. Still early in the fight, Juan opens up with a 3-2 down the pipe, nicks him, and then barely misses that second 3-2 combination and closes the gap extremely close. A little bit of a bad quality here, but yeah, he closes the gap extremely fast. This is the distance that Pantoja likes to be in, because then when people start throwing back, he dips under and attacks the legs for a takedown or back take or whatever he's looking for. But Juan tries that, and then he tries to go after the legs. Good reaction from Asakura, good sprawl. Oh, but as he's getting up, he does eat a shot. Juan Archuleta jumps on a guillotine, which is something we can expect from Pantoja, but Kai does a good job getting the side control to nullify it. A little bit of a wonky exchange, considering that Ryzen allows grounded kicks and knees to the head. But again, he backs straight up, gets caught against the cage or the rope in this scenario, and he fires back. He's not just looking to run, he's looking to fire back when he backs up, which is dangerous for Pantoja. That one more got him off balance, didn't really hurt him. But yeah, they ended up in this situation with Kai trying to pass the guard. He does. As far as his ground game is concerned, I don't really see anything too special. It's not really anything to compare with Alexandre Pantoja. I think Pantoja is much better on the ground. I think he's been more battle tested on the ground as well. That's not Asakura's strong suit, right? He actually does have good timing on takedowns, I'll say that for sure. He has good control, but as soon as he starts trying to strike or anything, he leaves a lot of room and isn't too good about like taking the back or anything like that. So his opponents usually are able to get up. This that's a good get up attempt from Juan Archuleta, but you can see that Kai, he wants to be there. Oh, tags him with a right hand. Tell me that doesn't look exactly like Alexandre Pantoja, how he would blitz. Look at it again. Backed up against the corner, gets hit with a right hand, and immediately starts charging forward with his chin in the air. That's pretty much Pantoja, except he might charge him all the way back to the ropes, right? That's kind of what Asakura wants. A little switch left hand right there. He hits him with a nice check hook. Now right here, this would be a takedown in the cage. The ropes are a little bit more catered to two strikers, so his foot wouldn't be back here. It would be very hard to balance, especially with Juan getting his hands connected like this on the cage. But the ropes, he's able to defend. And again, this is at 35 too, so Juan is stronger than Pantoja is gonna be. He's not panicking though, he's doing the right things, keeping that arm inside to try, and the ref ends up breaking him. That's a good exchange. And the thing is against Pantoja, he's looking for the right strikes. Like this is what scares me if I'm a fan of Pantoja, right? That was a fast uppercut. His head is off the center line, right? And then he's following up with like a ridge hand hook. That's a nasty combination. He throws nasty combinations. His cross is very nasty. He's not as good coming forward, but he's willing to sling them. He has good reaction time. There's another right hand there on Juan. And he looks for that step in knee a lot. That's the same step in he used last time where he landed that left hand, except this time he landed the knee. That's another thing that Pantoja has a problem with, dealing with knees, because he's so linear. There's that right hand, good duck under from Juan Archuleta, and he lands after the bell. Okay, end of the first round. That rising bell was pretty. Alright, round two. Juan is trying to pressure him to the cage, gets hit with a right hand. See how he stays in the exchanges, man. He likes to box. He has good hands. His head comes off the center line. He has fast hands too. Look how long he looks for the division at bantamweight. He's only longer at flyweight. Gets hit with a jab on the entry right there. Again, now he's looking to counter. He's waiting for the blitz from Juan. Throws the left hand, gets out of the way. Oh, good counter right. Juan keeps coming forward. And that's the thing. It's like if you play in this style, if you don't catch them as they're coming in, they're going to hit you with the third and the fourth shot. It's not the first two shots that you have to worry about, but it's the third and the fourth shot. And then when you're really worried about those, it's them shooting underneath. It is a tough style to crack, especially if you're going to try and use this like pop shotting low percentage type of style, because it's different. That you don't see him throw too many like long combinations. It's like 1 or 2 strike combinations. Every now and again you'll see a 3 or 4 strike combination, but it's all counter shots. And someone who likes to counter against someone who likes to be very offensive in Alexandre Pantoja, they're both gonna play into each other's game. That was a good jab from Juan. He gets his head off the center line there. Honestly, I think Asakura has more of a problem against people who like to be on the back foot than people who like to pressure. People who pressure kind of run into a lot of his shots, while if you're on the back foot, you make him have to come to you, and when he's coming forward, he leaves himself open a good amount of the time. That was a good attempt, trying to come forward. One counter with the takedown though. Ooh, running, leaping hook. Oh man, that was a dirty knee to the body. Oh wow. See, he's fading that forward movement. Kai's backing up, fakes it again, and you can see Kai kind of already, like, he wants to throw something. He already gave the tell that he wanted to come forward and do something, and so Kai's ready. He doesn't throw it there, but he's loading it up on the entry to knee him to the body. Probably broke a rib or two. Now to the body, to the head, wherever that knee goes, man, that's doing a lot of damage. So there's Asakura's fight against Juan Archuleta. Now I want to see his fight against Manel Kape. Now this is the first fight with Manel Kape. I wanted to look at the first fight because they haven't fought each other before. The second one was also a little weird because Manel Kape wore shoes during the fight. It was an MMA fight, but he wore shoes, so it was a little different, a little weird. I decided, it's probably better if we watch the first one, and we're only gonna really watch 1 to 2 rounds of this. So Manel is staying on the outside. You can see Asakura kind of has a hard time tracking him down. Lands a good low kick though. Tries that leaping left hook. like you saw against Juan or Archuleta. Now Kape is a very interesting character. Oh, they both land right hands. This one is back at catch weight, but he's going against a flyweight in Manel Kape. See how his clinch game is. Manel Kape runs him into that roundhouse kick. Oh, there's that lead knee. He hit it behind a kick. I think he was really trying to throw a kick, but he led with the knee. And it hit him right in the liver. Kape played it off well though. I know that hurt. Ooh, that's a good jab from Kape. Oh, yeah, Kape is kind of bombarding him. A lot of uppercut overhand angles are what's connecting there. So let's go back. Kape carrying the low hands. That jab from the low hand angle gives him some trouble. He didn't see it, so his head kind of gets low. He starts trying to grab. Uppercut overhand from Kape lands on him, and then a left hook sends him off balance. Oh yeah, he's dropped. He's one tough dude though. Yeah, he got landed on quite a bit right there. And then Kape lands a nice takedown. Now, I do think that Pantoja is going to have the wrestling advantage, but Kai has shown, just like he's showing right now, that he has the ability to get up off his back. Kape does go for a guillotine that's pretty ill-advised, but I've seen him get out of multiple guillotines and survive, so that was a bad idea. And that looked like a good spatial awareness from him in the grappling department. You don't really want to give him any room, but Pantoja's not the one who's going to give him room. Oh, there's that right hand left hook on Kape. Leaping left hook again. Oh, there's the 1-2. Hurts Kape. Kape still taunting, and he gets taken down right there. Kape goes for a guillotine. Oh my god. Look at them exchanging, just prideful. This is a prideful fight. Very explosive. Uses the guillotine grip to get up. Ooh, man, they were in a scrap. They get broken up. He likes that right hand to lead roundhouse as well. He's done that a lot of times. That's one of his favorite combinations to throw while going forward. Sometimes he'll convert it to a knee. So that's round one. There's that lead roundhouse again, and the left hook. Oh, there's that 3-2. His boxing's actually pretty good, man, for MMA. But yeah, he does try wild shit, man. He's very explosive. He also seems to be pretty open in the clinch. I've seen him get tagged up quite a bit in the clinch. That was a good takedown, though. Good timing on that takedown. He backs up, ducks under for a nice double leg, runs his feet, turns the corner. That was beautiful. But again, as I was saying, his ground it's not really special. Doing a decent job of controlling, but in this position, Pantoja would be able to get up. Alright, so that's what I wanted you to see from those fights. So as we can see, he is a very explosive fighter. He likes to counter fight, very boxing heavy. He likes that 2 to the roundhouse, to the body. He'll convert that to a knee. He likes switch knees. He likes all types of knees, and going against a guy who's much shorter, like Alexandre Pantoja, who's also very explosive, likes to blitz in, it's literally tit for tat for who's gonna win these exchanges, right? It's just whoever lands cleaner and it's more accurate is gonna win these exchanges. Now, I've seen him have beautiful timing. He does tend to find the right shots, right? So his IQ is there for striking. He has good explosive strikes. He suffers a little bit coming forward, but I think he'll be more patient and more on the back foot against Alexandre Pantoja, especially given Pantoja's style. And now getting into the keys to victory for Kai Asakura in this fight. You know, I think it's very important that Asakura tries to make this a boxing match, and it's tough to do that in MMA with someone who wants to grapple with you, because the moment you start really trying to sit down on your punches, they're shooting for your legs, right? So one of the ways he's going to be able to do this is by using that lead leg and keeping Alexandre Pantoja at bay. I think it'd be important for him to use that lead leg teep the way we saw him using a couple times in his fights. I don't know if he throws the side kick a lot, but a side kick would be good. Anything straight coming off that lead leg would help to set up not only that lead knee, but it would also make his opponent hesitate more to enter into that boxing or grappling range, and it'll set up that mid-range boxing a little bit more, right? It'll also force them to start telegraphing when they're gonna blitz because they have to create such a big motion or explosive movement. As far as his second key to victory, that goes back to using his hands. I think he really has to prioritize boxing, counter boxing, of course, because that is his style. I don't think he should throw too many kicks because kicks can be caught, and Alexandre Pantoja, if he gets on your back one time, it could be the end of the round or even the end of the fight, because he's one of the best in the business at being able to take your back and finish the fight. So I think he really has to limit how many or what kind of kicks he's throwing. I think side kicks to the knee, side kicks to the midsection, or teeps to the midsection with the lead leg are probably his safest bet because they can get in and out very quickly. But I really do think that he needs to prioritize the hands and have a good jab. And last key to victory for Kai Asakura would be to limit how many times he gives his back, man, because that's one thing that Pantoja is really good at. It's getting the back. Like, yes, he could do damage on top. Yes, he can control you. He can smother you and really take the whole round to do so. But against the cage, he can't wait there. He has to be active in trying to get out. He has to be constantly fighting for double underhooks and looking to circle off that cage. As far as the ground, he can't look to scramble too much and look to give his back, because if there is a back there, Alexandre Pantoja is going to take it. So those are my keys to victory for Kai Asakura in order to win this fight. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the film study of Alexandre Pantoja, starting off first by watching his fight against Steve Erceg. So in this fight, a lot of people thought Steve Erceg won, man, but we're not going to be talking about that much today. We're really trying to see the styles, because Steve Erceg does represent a lot of what Pantoja could see out of Kai Asakura. He's a guy who has good angles, good footwork, and is mainly boxing heavy, right? He doesn't throw too many kicks. He has good, solid timing for his wrestling, and he has decent wrestling defense as well. Similar to Kai Asakura. Very similar. He's also very explosive. I think Asakura is a little bit more wild, I would say, than Steve Erceg. He's a little bit more calculated, it seems. But Pantoja starts off with a calf kick, and there's that little blitz that he likes to do. Right away, trying to blitz and grab a hold of him. Erceg does a good job of clinching him up, pressing him to the cage, and then back out. Erceg's looking for those straight kicks as well. You see what Pantoja does though, right? So pay attention. He's staying slightly out of range, and every time Erceg looks to come into range, he throws. Every time. Good angle. Catches him with the hands off that angle too. Pantoja's having a tough time trying to blitz him all the way to the cage like he's used to doing. But Pantoja he was more measured in this one. Erceg does a good job getting to the clinch to nullify that blitz, giving a knee on the break. More teeps from Erceg, looking to keep that space in between them. You see what I mean though? Him just using these teeps, right? It makes Pantoja respect this forward, this distance between them, right? You see, he's right at the end of kicking range. That way he doesn't land one of those teeps, right? And then from this range, without Pantoja being able to creep up on him, those blitzes are very telegraphed. You can see them from a mile away. And that's why you see Erceg getting the best of him whenever he does throw those blitzes. But if Pantoja is able to creep up on him and he takes maybe 1 or 2 steps without Erceg taking a step back, then those blitzes are a lot harder to see coming. There's that blitz. 1, 2, 1, 4. Heavy low kick. Use it cross for throwing that jab to the body. That was a good Dutch style combination. I think that will better serve Pantoja rather than blitzing in like that against Kai Asakura. Those Dutch style combinations, like a 2-3 low kick. That beautiful takedown from Pantoja. Good timing. So he does another Dutch style combination. Throws a 1-2 as Erceg is fading away. He uses his momentum to slip under a shot, land a hook to the body, and use a nice outside trip to get the double leg. Another thing about Kai Asakura, he's used to fighting in ropes, not cages. I haven't ever really seen him circle to the cage or scoop to the cage to use the cage in order to get up. Like, it's different grappling in a cage than it is grappling in ropes. And look at how tight Alexandre Pantoja's hips are to his opponent. Everything's tight, man. There's no room for Erceg to do anything. It is working inch by inch though to try and get up. You using the cage pretty well to get up, but this is where it's dangerous. His trips and back takes are just some of the best, man. God, look at that. Look at this, man. And then the way he controls people is beautiful to watch. That's what I mean, man. You can't, like right here, this is a position you can't be in with Alexandre Pantoja. Like, you have to fight. You can't let this happen. This already happened from the ground up, like with Erceg trying to stand up, but this is a position that Asakura does not want to be in right here, because he'll get taken down like that. Good scramble though from Erceg. Pantoja will use a lot of energy early though. Avoids that knee. Round 2, Pantoja's on the front foot. Ooh, pressing him to the cage. A lot of cage grappling, a lot of wall grappling. Knee off the break. Erceg standing very tall. Good teep. Now Pantoja's respecting it, staying outside of that kicking range. And the blitz is very visible. Ooh, good low kick from Pantoja. He has really good low kicks. Underrated for sure. I remember when he chopped up Brandon Moreno's legs. He looks to, man, the way he uses those punches to set up his clinch and his grappling, man, that's his bread and butter. His grappling is his bread and butter. Beautiful pass. Passes that guard like butter. Oh my God. Look at this. Gets his double unders in half guard. High hips, low hips. Beautiful. This is what I mean, man. Like, Asakura is gonna have a tough time if it ends up on his back. Anyone, if they end up on their back, is gonna have a tough time with Pantoja. Anyways, so we see Pantoja's style pretty clearly in that fight, right? But I want to also take a look at his fight with Brandon Royval. Now, this is the first fight, so this was a while ago. It is a 3-round fight. Does not go the distance though, so I don't really think that matters too much. But this is also a way Pantoja could come out. He can come out very heavy and very fast. Brandon Royval is also someone who likes to lift those knees, but look at how Pantoja comes out and just smothers him. So, a couple differences in Brandon Royval and Asakura. Royval's obviously a southpaw, but there is a little bit of extra space to cover from a southpaw that Pantoja's gonna see in this, right? So, really all I'm trying to see in this video is how Pantoja makes up the space to get into that grappling scenario, right? And right here, you kind of see he just does the same thing. He kind of blitzes it, takes away that space with using punches on the air and punches to land, and then gets into that clinch. Royval, he's also the same build as Asakura, very long, lanky. He likes the same shots. He's just not as explosive. He's more of that like aerobic fighter, to where he's gonna go for a long time, but you know, he's not very explosive. He also looks for those knees. But yeah, Pantoja kind of just lands that right hand, another right hand, and then gets to the double. Looks to get to the back. You see how quickly this shit happens. You see how quickly and it can get bad with Pantoja. Now he's on the back. Now he's chasing you back. That's one hook in, 2 hooks, back to 1. But he's just, man, he's just so ahead. And Royval actually has good jiu-jitsu. You see how he's trying to scramble, and man, it's like if you try and scramble and you get into these half-back scenarios with Pantoja, he's just gonna ride you. You can see, like, literally Royval's trying to accept the bottom position, but he still gets his back. He's getting his back taken. Now he does go for a leg lock here, which I don't presume Asakura is going to go for, which helps him escape this scenario. Pantoja does do a good job of defending it though, and eventually gets back onto the back as Royval's trying to get up. I think the best approach is trying to get him back into guard and look to kick off the hips and then stand up. I think that's the best route to trying to stand up with Pantoja, because he's too good at getting to the back, man. And too sticky when he gets on the back. I mean, look at these trips. Back, and then he'll use the back to get on top and volley the hips and back on top. Okay, that was good by Royval. This is another thing that Pantoja is doing very well. He's not just letting Royval come forward with numbers. He's getting his head off the center line and striking with him. Pantoja has sneaky power. He just broke Brandon Royval's orbital right there with that short shot that he landed. Let's go back a little bit. Boom. Right there, broke his orbital. He's heavy-handed, and the fact that he's willing to stand in there and trade with you and not just back up the whole fight, that's a good sign. Anyways, moving forward, they both get out of this round. Pantoja looking to burrow his way forward with that blitz. Lands a roundhouse after the blitz. Well, that was a good knee from Royval. Man, the way he throws his blitzes, it's so awkward. Like the way maybe it's just because he's going against a southpaw, so he keeps it on the backside of Royval. But check this out. So 1-2. Okay, let's go back. So he throws the 1-2, right? Gets his head off the center line towards Royval's back. Scoops his back in order to keep him turned and keep throwing that cross into another 1-2, and kind of just keeps his head on this side, on that backside, as he's being very right hand heavy until he could get to the legs. That is so interesting. That's why that uppercut left hook combination scares me from Asakura. Oh, Royval overextends on a punch, gets his back taken. Oh man, what a back take. 1 hook, 2 hooks, not a good position, and he slips it under the chin. God man, Pantoja's his back control, his ability to get to the back, so dirty, man, so good, and forces Royval to tap. So there's Alexandre Pantoja film study and his style based off those fights. Like we all pretty much already knew, he likes to those blitzes. He's good about getting to the back off of defense and off of offense. He'll work from the legs to get to your back. It's against that cage, don't give your back. You gotta dig underhooks and look to circle him off the cage rather than giving your back looking to fight the hands. It's just not a good idea. He's too sticky. It's too dangerous. But there's his breakdown, and going into his keys to victory based off of his past fights and his style leading into this Asakura fight. You know, he's going against a guy who has fought in a square, who's been forced to fight in the pockets, and he isn't used to having a cage, especially not an octagon as big as the UFC's octagon. I think that does play a factor. It plays a factor in the style that Asakura has had to fight, right? He's been having to back straight up and then exchange and then circle out, right? Rather than people who back up, circle, and then exchange, and then circle. The UFC's octagon being bigger allows for different things. But with that being said, I think Pantoja should take a very similar approach that he started to take to that Erceg fight, where he started landing those low kicks. I think his first key to victory should be to prioritize the low kicks. With someone who's going to be stepping back as much as that, it's going to be hard to hit their head. So you really shouldn't try to hit their head. I think firing up to the head to get him to back up and look to counter, and attacking that lower half is going to be a good solid first key to victory in order to set up everything he wants to do later. And then when Asakura starts standing in there with him, I think Pantoja's second key to victory ought to be to then find his timing for those blitzes. But I think they should be coming off of angles. I think if he just blitzes straight forward at Asakura, he's gonna get caught. He get caught by a knee, uppercut, straight down the middle. Yes, he keeps his head off the center line, but Asakura is accurate enough and has good enough timing to where that's his bread and butter, man. That's what he wants. He wants you to blitz into that range and get caught. That's what he wants. So I think that if Pantoja is going to do that blitz after damaging the legs, and he gets Asakura a little lighter on that lead foot, to take an angle, step right or step left, and then throw that blitz in order to get to the legs and get to a takedown. Part of the reason that you do that is because if someone steps to your backside, right, it forces that turn and you're already behind, right? Unless they step back and readjust that angle, they're not going to be able to fire off something with enough substance to knock you out. So it'll immediately either get him shelling up, or it'll get him readjusting or just backing up in general to the cage, which is what Pantoja wants anyways, right? So moving on to Pantoja's last and final key to victory in order to win this fight against Kyle. I think it's going to be his composure, man. His patience against both Royval and Erceg. He's been showing that he can be a lot more composed. Man, he kind of learned it on the job in that Royval fight, because he came out high, almost gassed out, but was able to secure Royval enough to not burn out during the grappling and go the full 5 rounds. And then with Steve Erceg, he was able to go all 5 rounds as well at a more moderate pace. But he does have a tendency at burning out early. I think that this should be another step in learning how to stay composed, to not always have to blitz, to set up those blitzes a little bit better, not rush things, because I think that he doesn't need too many opportunities at being on Asakura's back in order to finish the fight, but that should be his main objective. Kick the legs, get him to square up, blitz him off of an angle, attack the legs with the wrestling, right up to the back, and there's your game plan, right? But that all starts by picking him apart. If you go in there and you just try and blitz him, he's gonna find the time. And if you go in there and you're trying to fight fire with fire, you're giving him a big chance. So those are Pantoja's keys to victory in order to win this fight. But moving on to my official prediction and my final thoughts on this, man, I like the card. I don't know why Ciryl is fighting Volkov again. He kind of dominated him the one time that they did fight. I don't know. That's a little weird to me. Ian Gary versus Shavkat is a beautiful fight. I think even the prelims are pretty good. They have Cron Gracie versus Bryson Mitchell. That's an interesting fight. Yeah, a lot of good fights, but none bigger than the main event, right? For the belt, flyweight championship, Pantoja versus Asakura. Who wins this fight? What's my official prediction? I think that Pantoja is more seasoned. I think he is gonna be more composed, but I think it's just a dangerous fight, man. That pocket is just a very dangerous place to be in this fight because they both throw hammers. Asakura is definitely going to be the bigger, stronger athlete in this fight, and which is why I think that Pantoja should take his time trying to create those chaotic situations, make him feel that weight cut. He hasn't cut that kind of weight in a long time. He's a bigger guy. He's already explosive. He has that fast twitch muscle. Let him burn out a little bit before really trying to go for that finish. I said burn 2 minutes off of every round before actually implementing your game plan if you're Alexandre Pantoja, and you'll be alright. But like I said, this is a dangerous fight for both fighters. I think either fighter has a good chance at winning, but I'm gonna go Alexandre Pantoja, man. We've been seeing a theme, bro, that grappling changes everything, dude. Islam and Poirier, grappling changed everything. Marab and Sean O'Malley, grappling changed everything. And Leon, like the list goes on and on and on. Grappling changes everything. Of course, Pantoja could get knocked out, but we thought Erceg was going to be able to step back and possibly knock him out, right? And man, maybe he would have if he didn't shoot that takedown in the last round or whatever. But that's where composure, decision making, and all that comes in. I've seen Asakura make a lot of wild mistakes and wild exchanges that could lead Pantoja right to his back or on top on the ground. And I think that's kind of what I'm betting on in this situation. So I'm taking Alexandre Pantoja. I think he'll get the finish by submission, probably due to a rear naked choke. But what do you guys think? Leave your predictions in the comments down below. Let me know how you liked this breakdown. And with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and go ahead and check out the Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description, and I'll go ahead and see you guys in the next one. Peace.